Cower. It is Tuesday, December 19th. Welcome to the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order and begin with a roll call.
Commissioner Tompkins?
Here.
Commissioner Greeno?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Chair Short?
I am here. And if you all would join me in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is our public comment period. Is there any general public comment at this time?
I don't have anybody.
Seeing nobody online and nobody in the audience, we'll close the public comment period. And I'm seeing Dominic here, so I'm going to skip down the agenda and jump right to our Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority status report. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely.
All right.
Sometimes it is interesting to see what you guys talk about.
Yeah.
The other things. So we got a little bit behind, but we had got caught up here with the 4 quarters for the 22-23 fiscal year. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag on the state controller website and some of the information I need to get from my own financial records, but we're caught up on that. And then we have the first quarter here for the 23-24 fiscal year. So just kind of business as normal here, typical funding, typical volume of tows. You guys have any questions for us on it?
That state controller is a lag on the state controller side or on our
So
side?
they post the quarterly amounts that we get,
Oh,
collect from the DMV. So it's usually several months. Sometimes it's a few months, whatever. But that's where I pull the numbers. Sometimes I can get those numbers from our own county auditor controller, but typically I'll refer to the state controller website
Gotcha.
to get those.
let me see. How's things going, or is the
Yeah, good.
budget
Good.
okay?
Yeah, we started off strong here in the first fiscal year. Towed quite a few RVs. We had 3 that were burnt out behind Elk Valley Hay and Feed. We had a couple down in Klamath, so we got those dismantled and hauled off. And then we ended up getting a cow recycle grant, so we can tow up to $50,000 worth of RVs and trailers countywide, and that'll be used over the next probably 2.5 years. So that's really going to augment our AVA program and help us stay on top of it.
Good deal. I just wanted to say I appreciated rolling into town, seeing a fifth wheel trailer dumped on South Beach, and let you know, and 2 days later it's gone. So I just wanted to express my appreciation that you guys jumping right on that, keep our beach beautiful is cool stuff.
Definitely, you're welcome. And having that funding available is what allows us to respond so quickly on those.
Yeah.
What's the average ballpark figure on these types of tows that we're doing?
So once you factor in the tow cost, disposal cost, pumping out the septic, and if it has if it's an RV with an engine, oil drain, fuel drain, but you're looking at 2,000 as a safe number to kind of run with. And then depending on the weight and size, might be a little less. Sometimes they'll creep up and hit the 2,500 mark. They're not cheap to get rid of.
No.
And if you look that we have roughly 22,000 a year to work from, I mean, we can hit that up and use it up pretty quick. Vehicles, they're easy. They're about $110 here from the city limits. Klamath will step up closer to 400.
Well, for some part, there's a value even depending on the condition, but there's a value, a certain value in the marketplace for parts, if not from scrap metal. So there is some value return.
Yes, the vehicle there is a recyclable value.
However, trailers not so much.
No.
For sure.
I'd also like to commend Dominic for his engagement with the Illegal Dumping Technical Advisory Committee of Cal Recycle, which I'm engaged with. But essentially, in part because of our partnership with the AVA, I've been able to raise the issue statewide about the concerns about trying to address RVs and trailers and campers and things like that, because the cost of managing those at the end of life is so much more than vehicles. And as you may know, the AVA program is funded by a $1 per vehicle fee added to the registration. That's also true for RVs. And so these things that are costing us significantly more to deal with as they're abandoned are not paying their fair share into the program. So the Illegal Dumping Technical Advisory Group has started to ask statewide our partners about how they're dealing with RVs and trailers and things like that, because it appears to be a statewide issue and not just ours. But I think Dominic's dealt with it really well, and I think it's fabulous that you've got that Cal Recycle grant to deal with those extra expenses.
Thank you.
Well, and like most things, unfortunately, as the cost associated with disposal rises, it just encourages more and more of the abandonments to incur, because people just can't afford to get rid of their washer and dryer at the conventional dump site, or have it removed by somebody because of the cost associated with that. And so then they roll it off the side of the road, and we end up with them all over the place. And I know as dollars get tighter, those situations are only going to get worse.
So I had a quick question. So as you receive these or get these vehicles throughout the year, are those taken care of as you get them, or are they stored somewhere and then gradually taken care of over time? How does that work?
Yeah, so they're stored for 10 days at the tow yard's impound lot. And then after that, we can process them for disposal. So we stay on top of it. The tow yards don't want to hold them.
I hear you.
So we like to get them in and out as quick as we can.
Okay.
Some of the RVs and trailers are in such a state that they can't be towed or removed, and we'll demo those on site. So they
Okay.
either go with a contractor, the dump trailer. We've dropped recology bins and stuffed them into those, whatever works. But yeah, as soon as we get them, we're trying to get them out of our hair.
That's good to hear that we don't have a lot of backlogs.
No,
Excellent. Very good. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your continued work on all of this. It's a really important thing for our community to get done. So
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mike, got anything? No, sir?
No, just glad you're out there getting her done.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Don, for being here. Appreciate the
You bet.
update
Thank you.
already. Okay, moving back on our agenda, we're going to hit the consent agenda. We have 4 items. That's approving the minutes from the regular session on Tuesday, the 21st of November, approving a payment of claim 9698 to the SWRCB accounting office in the amount of $33,187 for the our annual permit fee. Approve the payment of claim 9708 to Clean Earth Environmental Solutions in the amount of $75,408 for the household hazardous waste collection event, and approve a budget transfer for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of $4,052.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
second.
Do we have any public comment on this item, or on these items, I guess? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for any discussion. Seeing none, will you pull the vote, please?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Short?
Yes. Okay, moving on to director's reports. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Chair Short. On December, in general, the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority continues to operate the Klamath, Gasky, and Del Norte County transfer stations and to provide required monitoring and accounting along with reports to overseeing agencies. Authority staff provide these services without any financial support from the City of Crescent City or the County of Del Norte and without receiving a penny of taxes. The per-ton rates charged at authority-managed facilities continue to be lower than charges for equivalent services at facilities in Humboldt and Curry counties. The Klamath transfer station was not open on the 3rd of December as 101 was closed in the morning, and we didn't have an opening time. Just so you all know how we navigate that, essentially if we think that the road's going to be open by 1 or 1:30, then we'll try to keep the employee available to be able to drive down to be open for the last few hours. But once you get to about 2 o'clock, they're not going to arrive in time to be open for any significant amount of time, so the day's kind of done. So when we hear that 101's closed and we have no idea when it's going to open again, then that's the kind of decision we have to make. Regarding community events and outreach, this is the month for tree cycling. So after you're done with your holiday tree, we'll take that at the Del Norte County Transfer Station for no charge. Please remove all flocking, ornaments, tinsels, and stands. And this is just for real, live, organic trees, not artificial trees. I continue to work with Kira on the Rethinking Recycling program on KFUG 101.1 FM. And next month, we'll be talking about packaging changes associated with SB 54. Thank you for approving the consent agenda. Regarding the landfill, the last few inspection reports, we had been in violation, and thanks to the maintenance efforts of our staff, they've addressed enough of the erosion concerns that we are no longer in violation, though there are still bits of erosion that still are awaiting repair. Towards that end, we also purchased 2 weed whackers so that our staff can do the weed whacking necessary on the surface drainage structures as weather permits. Let's see, also letting you know, we do have a new regional water quality control board person looking over her shoulder, and her name is Terry Sia. At the Delaware County Transfer Station, we've had communication issues between the scale and the office, and we believe that much of that was associated with our increased rodent activity. We had some chewed wires at the gatehouse, and that was interfering with some of our communications. And then also, while the internet is down, and then we can't process credit or debit cards. So that occurred on the 29th of November. And we're also having issues with, we often, for several large volume customers like Recology, they like their receipts emailed to them, and we've lost that functionality temporarily. So we're trying to recover that. Also, Recology, for instance, in our authority revenue reports, you'll notice that the last 3 months running, Recology has the same franchise fees. That's because their computer systems had been under attack since November 2nd. They had a malware incident. And so for a period of time, many of their regular reports could only be done from Vacaville. And so Recology Del Norte employees were driving down to Vacaville to run those reports and then driving back up. Thankfully, 3 of them now have access, but they're still having ongoing computer problems. And so consequently, Recology last week was closed the last hour of the day. They were closing to the public at 4 p.m. so that they could hand enter all the paper receipts that they were building up into the computer system. So that concern continues. Regarding personnel, in the last month, I was reelected to be chair of the technical advisory group for the Environmental Services Joint Powers Authority. In this last meeting, we also toured the Visions paint recycling plant, which is where all of the latex paint in California largely is recycled. So that was informative. And I've also been re-elected as vice chair of the California Product Stewardship Council. And attached to this report is a quarterly report we have to submit to the CalRecycle, and it's called the Recycling, Disposal, and Reporting System, the RDRS system. So we do this quarterly, so that report is attached. And we also completed a regular report to the Carpet America recycling efforts. Attached to the staff report are coupons we have sent to the Forest Service for and provided to folks who are selling live trees to remind everybody that we do take holiday trees at the Delaware County Transfer Station for no charge through the end of January. If you're a Recology Del Norte customer, you can have that tree collected from your house at your convenience, but you need to call them before January 22nd, and you can call them at 464-4181 to arrange for that collection. And then also there are some waste reduction holiday gift ideas there attached to that report. And I can move on to the financials unless there are any questions.
Anything from anybody? Yep. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and move on.
Moving on to the financials. We have $2.18 million in the bank plus $198,000 for last month's rent. So that's our cash flow report. Thanks to Kathy Brewer keeping our accounts up to date. You can see that we have very few accounts that are over 60 days due, and those that are 90 days due have been referred to collections. Looking at claims approved by director, once again, you'll see that the largest expense goes to Hambro WSG for the good services they provide at the Delaware County Transfer Station. And the next two largest expenses are to the auditor's office for our debit and credit card transactions, and to Recology Del Norte for servicing the bins at the Klamath Transfer Station. Moving on to the next financial report, you can see our monthly cash and charge reports for November. And our revenue's a little bit down, but that is what we expect this time of the year because during the winter months, things slow down a bit. And as you might notice under the franchise fee report, you'll see that we have the same franchise fee amounts for the last 3 months as Recology is trying to catch up. We all acknowledge those franchise fee payments are probably a little on the high end, and so chances are when we settle out, we'll be paying that back because I expect those are probably in the range of, $4,000 to $8,000 over. So, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anything from anybody? Nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Nice and quiet. We'll move on to item 6.1 then.
This is a letter of engagement that essentially needs approval for signature, but this is as we've reviewed before, this agency is required to do audits every other year, but since I've been here, we've done audits every single year. And we always use the same auditing firm that is auditing Del Norte County because they're reviewing many of the same records and going through the same files. And so that's just what makes sense. And if we were to use a different contractor, chances are the expenses would be considerably higher because they wouldn't already be doing that work. So looking for approval for signatures on this so we can engage Harshwell and Company in conducting the audit for this fiscal year.
Move to approve. Got a motion for approval?
Second.
And a second. Is there any public comment on the item for our auditor? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. And seeing no other discussion, go ahead and pull the vote, please.
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Short?
Yes. Okay. Item 6.2, discussion and possible adoption of MOU between Del Norte Solid Waste and SEIU.
In prior closed sessions, I've discussed most of the changes that have been proposed in this negotiated MOU, and most of them follow along with the county's memorandum of understanding so that we can mirror that language so that it's a little bit easier for the folks in the human resources and personnel departments to essentially deliver the same kind of services to our employees that they're delivering to the county. We have reviewed certain areas where the agency's responsibilities kind of step outside what the county usually does, and so we have special provisions in there. And one of them that we hadn't discussed is on the front page of the staff report, and essentially it's how we deal with the Christmas holidays. In the county, how it reads is essentially under the Del Norte County MOU, if Christmas Day falls on a Saturday, the two holidays will be Thursday and Friday. If Christmas falls on a Sunday, then the holidays are to be Monday and Tuesday. Since typically we're a 7-day-a-week facility and we are open on most Sundays, that structuring of the holiday doesn't really work for us because then we'd have to backfill those days. And so what staff have proposed, and it makes sense to me, is that if Christmas falls on a Saturday, the Dinswama holidays will be Friday and Saturday. And if Christmas falls on a Sunday, the Dinswama holidays will be Sunday and Monday. So very slight change, but this MOU has been reviewed and voted on by the members of the Solid Waste Authority Union, and it was approved by a 7-2 vote. And so we're poised for adoption of this MOU. I also did send in an email the attached benefits plan for 2024. In the county's MOU, they give a link to the file that's available through the county's intranet program. The authority does not have access to the county's intranet, so attaching a link isn't very useful to any of the authority employees. So we actually need a paper copy, but we all have the understanding that this regularly gets updated, and each year it gets updated, it would be attached to the MOU. So with all of that, staff recommend approval of this.
Did anybody get a feel for the two dissenters, what they were not in favor of, I guess?
The short of it is we don't have that information because it's
Okay.
really an up or a down vote. Just in conversation, you have different levels of engagement of different employees, and some folks, they will zero in on one little thing, and if that's not exactly as they want it, the whole thing's going down. So that's how I would
Totally
interpret those votes.
understand. Yep. I understand. Okay, bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion to adopt the MOU. Crickets. What if we don't get a motion? Huh. What do we do then, Ted? What if we don't get a motion? Nobody's moving.
Well, that's
How about I make a
I-
motion? We adopt.
My only question for you, and I think that we talked a little bit about this when we were doing negotiations, with implementation of this, is there going to be any requirement for us to do any kind of budgetary adjustments because of increased personnel costs?
Not at this point. This point is just updating the MOU, which is more like the employment agreement and the description of holidays and benefits and how do you resolve grievances and things like that. We will, in the coming year, be looking at the appropriate levels of compensation for authority staff, but that is not what is before you today.
Okay, thank you.
We did put elevated money into that budget item at the beginning of the year,
Right.
knowing that we were, the word comes to mind is debating, but that's not.
Sure. All right, with that, then I would make a motion that we adopt the attached memorandum of understanding, which has been approved by SEIU 1021.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Inscore and Mr. Tompkins. Any further discussion?
My only comment is in future documentation like this, if we could please include and have either highlighted or underlined any changes, addendums, or additions, or mark out changes, so that again it makes it far easier for me and far less cumbersome to actually have old and new side by side as I'm making my review.
Thank you for that request, and I'd be happy to do that. I want you to understand that we were in closed session, I did give red line versions indicating each section that was changing, and those were the sections that changed. My hesitation of doing the red line version is it would look like those were all new, when in fact they were just coming up to speed with what the county was already doing. So,
Well, even new, just matching language.
Yeah.
It just makes it much easier for me as I'm going through and making reviews that I can concentrate, focus in on what the various changes are, and also compare it with if it is coming directly out of county language, I can compare and contrast because again it makes it very. The language is so critical when it comes to MOUs because one word can change the entire meaning of whether someone does or does not, or whether there's any question as to whether this is going to be implemented in the way it was intended. And so I like to see any changes, even if it's just a word there or then, whatever. Because it does make it very critical and important, but it also allows me to, because a lot of these MOUs, the vast majority of it is something that's not even been changed, it's not even altered, it's not even really up to question. But where there are changes, it makes it easier. Thank you.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Carol, will you poll the vote, please?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Short?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 6.3, discussion and possible action regarding Authority Resolution 2023-03, authorizing the acquisition of the real property known as 2520 Old Mill Road.
Mr. Chair, if I might, this resolution was requested by the title company in order to proceed with the transaction that we're familiar with related to 2520, thank you, Old Mill Road. So,
Well, thank you. Seems pretty
Well,
cut and dry.
I have to say, this is really encouraging to see this on our agenda today. It's been a long time coming concerning a kind of a problem property. So I feel happy to make this motion. I move that we authorize the acquisition of the real property known as 2520 Old Mill Road, Crescent City, California, in terms amended in the real estate purchase agreement. What is the number on that resolution?
I think
2023-03.
Sorry, it's not on my.
2023-03.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Any further discussion? Okay, Kara, would you pull the vote, please?
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore.
Yes.
Chair Short.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will close the open public portion of our agenda. We will be adjourning into closed session at this time. We have one item, that's our public employee and performance evaluation. I don't believe we'll have anything to report out when we finish there, so we will adjourn after closed session is over. And after that adjournment, we will see each other again on Tuesday, January 16th, 4 o'clock, right here. Thank you all very much for being here.